But these, one of the things that helps in a situation like this is coming from a background of social science, where we're almost always dealing with, on the whole and for the most part, sorts of arguments where we see strong tendencies in data, but there are always exceptions, right? And why are there exceptions? Well, because of what Aquinas would call circumstance, right? There are lots of, for every decision, there are matters of principle outside of which we can't deviate and on which we need to be clear about what the principled lines are. But within those principal lines, there are often lots of circumstances contributing to a prudential decision as to what the best route forward is. And so I think any good program where you're being reflective about men and women is going to operate in a mode of identifying what are those principal differences, right? And in this case, a lot of those are going to be biology, which will then form a kind of boundary condition. And then what are the tendencies within those that are normative, where we go along, where we're working with nature? Where are those where we're fighting nature? Where are those where that are sort of neutral, right? I mean, it's sort of neutral culturally as to whether men wear pants or not. But it is going to tend to be the case that women are more nurturing for children and men are more roughhousing in their play with children. That does not mean it will be the case every time. But there are both biological components and cultural components as to why we tend to see that. And I think one of the geniuses of a Catholic standpoint, a Catholic approach to all of this, is the sort of discernment, the sort of quiescence in the face of the truth, to be able to handle all of this complexity without freaking out in one direction or another. Because we know that this is all God's creation. And these are all God's children. And so all of this fits together, even if it's not obvious to us, maybe from the get-go, how it is that the truths of Scripture and the truths of church teaching and the truths of even some contemporary science, even if it's not always obvious right from the jump, how all those things fit together, if we just think carefully and clearly about them and dispassionately and discuss and disagree civilly, we will, it is my confidence, it is the guarantee of our faith that we will get to a point where we see them all fitting together.
So would you let your boys wear pink?
Yes, I mean, I'm a Southerner, so we are okay. As you know, boys, it's often the case that they do, and actually that's a great example. So if people can do a Google search on this, in the late 19th and into the early 20th century, red and pink were the color for boys, and it did an about face in the 20th century. But how hung up we should be on a tradition that's that new is an open question.
Yeah.
Now, if my boys came and wanted piercings and makeup and other stuff, then we're going to have a conversation about cultural roles and why that's not appropriate.
Yeah, because
what signals they're sending to other people when they do that.
Well, that's what's even hard even about the pink question now, because it's like, well, does it signal something? Is it like a stand, like, oh, you're being forward and progressive because you're allowing your boys to wear pink because it's been viewed in these kind of stereotypes. This is the problem with the transgender movement, is that in many ways it's actually reinforced the stereotypes that it's trying to break free from. Because it says that if you're a boy who likes to wear pink, well, then that means something, that there's something. Or if you're a girl that likes to wear blue, well, then, there's something that could mean more. Like my wife was sort of a tomboy growing up, and she talks about that. And I mean, I wonder what that would have looked like, in today's day and age, where it's all kind of being pushed in this direction. It's like, if this happens, then this happens. And what you're saying is beautiful, in the notion that pink, okay, maybe not so much, but there is a limit here where we start talking about maybe earrings or certain piercings or wearing dresses or things. It's like, okay, there comes a point where it's like, okay, now we're definitely signaling something. But where can we have a conversation about that, and where can we kind of settle on the middle ground with that?
Yeah, I think some part of it is we need to recognize what the point and purpose of social norms and habits and these sort of institutions is. And it's and the point and purpose is often to make social life together easier for each other, right? There's an extent to which this is one of the modern problems, right? Is we tend to see rules and limitations as limits on our freedom instead of seeing them as avenues for expression of our freedom and ways that we get to the good. So we try to teach our boys good manners. And I think being a Southerner, one of the things that I'm very keenly aware of in contemporary society is that these old school manners are often thought of as a straitjacket on your expression. But in a way, I think that completely misunderstands them. When you have manners that you share with other people, then everybody knows how the other people are going to behave. And so we all sort of know what's coming, even if something unexpected happens. When we go to someone's house for dinner, we sort of know the order of eating, right? We know the pie isn't going to come first.
It should, though.
We know
which come first. I'm fine for breaking that cultural mold.
we know sort of which fork to use. We know that the piece of cloth that's set near our plate, we know what it's for. We don't put it on our head, right? We don't attempt to wear it as a cape. We know that it goes in our lap. We know where it goes when we need to get up and go to the restroom during the meal, right? So we develop these sort of ways, and those all actually help make us more comfortable in these situations. And so cultural norms are, in a way, not just they do function as signaling devices to other people, but they also help us feel comfortable in our social world so that we feel more at home in ourselves. The fundamental experience, this gets us really into the gender dysphoria area, because the fundamental experience that is not to be dismissed of a patient suffering gender dysphoria is they feel so uncomfortable in the world that they feel alienated from their own body. And that would be profoundly distressing to anyone, not to feel at home even in your own body. And this cries out for both a therapeutic approach and especially a theologically grounded therapeutic approach to help them see that God made them the way they are, and in the body that they have, and that nothing is wrong with that. It was not a mistake. They are not a mistake. They are a child of God made in his image and likeness.